And as you know, today's presenters are Gayle, Dickson, and Bryan McGilloway. Gayle, graphic pencils and acrylics, and we've just been hearing all about our travel photographer, Bryan. So I'm going to let, let's see, I'm going to then start with Gayle Dickson. And Gayle, if you want to get started, here we go.
Okay. Well, good afternoon to everyone that is on board here, and it's good to see and hear and be here. So, and first of all, though, I have to do my thing in the beginning, which is to give thanks. And I want to say thank you to what I sometimes refer to as the mystery that is such an amazing part of my life. And I met Cannoli about 20 years ago while a pastor at South Berkeley Community Church. And then after I moved to Richmond, I met him again through a mutual friend. And Cannoli encouraged me as an artist to join the Artists of Point Richmond. And recently I've had a chance to meet some of you personally and through your artist talks, and I am enjoying my Artists of Point Richmond experience. So thank you, Artists of Point Richmond, for welcoming me into your art community. I am enjoying it. Thank you. So here we go, embarking on my artist journey. Hold on to your hat. No, I'm just kidding. I am an artist, a former member of the Black Panther Party, and an ordained minister. I was born in Berkeley, California. I was raised in Oakland by a single mom. And I lived in Oakland most of my life, the formative years, the early formative years of my life, except for a brief 2 years in Seattle, Washington, and now, since 2005, here in Richmond. And I spent most of these early formative years in a segregated section of 40th Street in North Oakland. And most of the Black people who lived in this segregated section were single moms. Therefore, my worldview is mostly women and children. And as far as motivation and influences, I've drawn since I was knee-high to a grasshopper. I am mostly, or beginning the early part of my life anyway, a drawer. And my imagination as a very young child, my imagination was stimulated by my older brother, who he just took me on imagination journey. And drawing became a way for me to understand and communicate to and about the world around me. In the 9th grade, my mom had just bought a home in East Oakland, and I attended Frick Middle School. It's called middle school now, but we called it junior high, and I think it's even changed its name. And that was in the early 60s. And when we moved out to East Oakland was still I'm using air quotes, suburb of Oakland. So it was still a suburb school with all kinds of extracurricular classes, such as sports, music, art, and drama. And I was in the art class, and my drawing was selected for the cover of the school musical program. Still in the 60s, but now we're going towards the middle 60s. In high school, I'm in Fremont High School, and that's still borderline suburb type school, and even though it's East Oakland. And my art teacher framed a series of our class drawings and exhibited them in the school hallway. And a visitor to the exhibit bought my drawing, and that was the first time I sold my art. So now we're going to move into the late 60s, and I'm in community college, and the artists I'm learning about all these artists that are Black artists. And I'm learning that the artists from the 1920s Harlem Renaissance, and they become a big influence on me. I'm just swallowing them up, and I'm buying their prints and trying to learn as much as I can about them. And then there's the artists from the 1930s, Works Progress Administration. And I like the bold use of colors and storytelling from artists such as Jacob Lawrence. And then my teacher, who was also from that era, he was Professor Claude Clark. And he told stories, and he used a lot of bright colors, and he used a lot of freedom of movement in his paintings. And in the 60s, it was the bold freedom and self-expression of the Black arts movement. They called it BAM. The initials was BAM. And sometimes that was referred to as the Harlem Renaissance of the West Coast. And it was spearheaded by then Leroy Jones, whose later name changed to Amira Baraka. He was a poet. He was from the East Coast, and he was called to the West Coast to start this organizing of Black artists on the West Coast. And in the 1970s, I joined the Black Panther Party in Seattle, and then I migrated back to Oakland in 1972. And I was assigned to work on the Black Panther newspaper. And I began to add political and social commentary to my drawings for the first time. And I drew then under the pseudonym of Asali, A-S-A-L-I. I drew to the party's 10-point platform and program, and I drew to the politics to get out the vote. So this, I guess you could say, was sort of like a high point for me. I'm being called on to use my drawing skills. There's a deep purpose for me, and I'm going to do some miraculous stuff right here. I'm going to start introducing the images, and my computer is very old. Wait, I have to go back to you guys first. I'm sorry. Hold on. What happened? I lost you. There you are. Hold on. I'm going to share some images with you. And oh boy, I think I might have did something wrong. Hold on. My computer is slow, you guys, so bear with me. And this is the part where I start. You'll see most of my drawings from this part. I don't have a lot of drawing. I don't have any drawings from this earlier part of my life. And let's see. Okay. Let me know if you can see this. Hold on just a minute. It's coming up. Like I said, it's slow, and I apologize for this slowness. Come on. I mean, nothing I can do about it. I don't know why it's taking so long here. There we go. Come on. It's loading. It says it's loading. Come on. It's coming. And my daughter-in-law showed me how to get these pictures up in here, but this is probably not the normal way of getting them. My computer's really running slow right now. I really don't know why it's running. Now, can you see it? Does everybody see it? Okay, okay. So anyway, from 1972 to 1974, I worked on the newspaper. And this particular drawing here was also at the Norman Rockwell Museum, on exhibit at the Norman Rockwell Museum recently. This is called All the Cotton is Picked. And I drew to the party's 10-point platform and program. A lot is being communicated here, from slave labor to slave wages to no or very little social safety net, but others benefited, and race is used as a tool to divide. So this is there's a lot of stuff going on in here, including an education to the community that we're dealing with. And this one is an example of let it shine, let the power of the people shine. This one was on exhibit at the Oakland Museum in 2016. And I drew to get out the vote. We were a small band of men and women working together as a team in the graphic arts department of the Black Panther newspaper. And then in 74 to 76, I transferred over to one of the survival programs of the Black Panther Party, which was the Oakland Community School. And I used art as a teaching tool. I taught preschool children, and I taught them their cognitive skills. And we taught children, I did the logo. This is the logo I did for the school. And we taught children how to think, not what to think. And this was one of their mottos: the world is a child's classroom. In 1976, I leave the party, and I go through what is called the healing period. And I'm healing this time from this intense service to my country through the Black Panther Party. And my drawing is serving to heal me. It's healing medicine. And so this is dumb stuff, an attitude that I was developing. And I have a poem that goes with this, because a lot of people saw her as mean and had a nasty attitude. And actually, there's a different story that goes with her, and there's a tenderness underneath the hard-looking exterior. But the poem is very long, and so I'm not going to recite it here. But that was one of my pictures during that time. This is of Gil Scott-Heron. He was my hero musician at the time. And this is a self-confidence reminder, because I used grease pencil and I didn't sketch him in first. I just sat down and drew him. So this was a confidence builder for me. This was done in 1980. Then there's this middle period, which I really don't have images for, but I returned to school. I get my Bachelor of Fine Arts degree, and I really enjoy this time. I'm getting into all kinds of different kinds of arts. I'm doing pottery, I'm doing silk screening, I'm doing sculpture, and as well as drawing and learning art history. And this is a time of refocusing my energy and rediscovering who I am, independent of my family, my husband, and the Black Panther Party. I'm a mom now. I have 2 children, and life kept reminding me that I am also an artist. My mom ran a senior center, and she'd write plays for this is real early on, some of the earliest senior centers. And she'd write plays for the seniors to perform, and I would draw the covers for the play programs. And sometimes my friends would have art projects, and they'd ask me to do drawings to help with their project assignments. And even nature would remind me of what I already knew but had temporarily forgotten, like color combinations. After I leave this middle time, I go into seminary. I feel a call to go into seminary. And I add the concept of community with a capital U in the word community. unity, there's unity in community. And I add that to my social and political consciousness. And so this one is called Committed Relationship. And it's just, again, I just sat down and drew the two trees that were in the courtyard with the pen and ink, or just a pen, I think it is. And they're joined at the root, but they're individual trees. And so I contributed drawings to a monthly student newsletter, and this was one of them. And they were all about relationships in one way or another. And then I took an art class during that time from Louise Todd Cope. And in her class, we picked up the mantle of the service to the people in the community. And she would take her class to this women's homeless day shelter in Oakland and have what is tantamount to art workshops for spiritual healing their spirit. And this one here is while I was, come on, let me see, did I go too fast? Okay, let me see, my computer slows up when I don't move fast enough with it. Too fast. Here we go. This one here, this is called A Prayer in South Carolina. And it's a true story. And this one was drawn when I was a pastor of the church. And again, community is the theme. And the initial drawing is all pencil. It's from my memory. It has nothing to do with poses or anything like that. It's from memory. And somehow this drawing made its way into my computer, and it was transported to my computer, and I used my computer graphics program at the time to color it in. And I want you to know that the coloring graphics program was too difficult for me. So I don't even know how it got into my computer. I don't know how I colored it, and I'll never try it again. It was very complicated. So then in 2010, I find a studio owned by artist Patrice Stone. And she's a watercolorist, a master watercolor. And so she encourages me to start off, I want to do color instead of just drawing. And she encourages me to do a watercolor. And so this is called Joey. And I'm here to tell you, I admire everyone who is a watercolorist. I admire you tremendously because you have to be very, very clear what you're doing with watercolor. And I could quickly move to acrylics so I can mess up. And I respect all watercolors to the highest degree. This is my acrylics, one of my first acrylics. And this is also from my observation of the community. And this is called point number 4. We want decent housing fit for the shelter of human beings. And I'm drawing from Jacob Lawrence, Bright Colors. And I'm drawing from him to draw you in the purpose, whether you are drawn in or not is another thing. But the purpose is to draw you in, the colors is to draw you into the painting, and then for you to see the story that I'm telling you. This is about I don't know what I have there. At any rate, then let's see, there's a question that Irene sent me. It says, how my art has changed from early stages. In 2021, I met Jessel Miller Galleries in Napa, and her freedom of expression captivated me. She teaches the art of letting go. And most of my paintings I've exhibited with Artists of Point Richmond are from my time with her. And this one is an example. She was teaching us different techniques to use for the background first before we put the image on first, whereas I had been putting sketching in the image and drawing painting the background around the image. I put the background in first and then put the image on top. And that's one of the techniques that she showed us. This one here again. Now this one here is called I'm becoming conscious of composition, and on the one hand, I'm becoming conscious of what is the story I am telling, and how do I want to tell it. On the other hand, I'm learning what is the story inside of me and that is trying to come out. And so we're doing, again, this is color application first, and then we were asked to find the face in there. And this is the face that revealed itself to me. That's why I call it Spirit Revealed #1, because sometimes the stories that are revealed are mystical, and I have no idea where they come from, who this character is, but she wanted to come out, and so I brought her out. And then finally, using the technique, the background is using, again, the technique that I learned from my time with Gesso Miller Gallery, but I'm also now practicing on my own. And this is Sandra Bland. I'm practicing the art of letting go outside of class while I'm incorporating lessons and concepts from my past lessons. And this is a picture of Sandra Bland. She was, I don't know if anybody, you can look her up just briefly. She was on her way to a new position in Texas. She was pulled over by the police. She questioned why she was being pulled over, something about a signal, left or right turn signal. And then because she questioned, they exchanged words, and so they arrested her. And 3 days later, they found her hung in the jail. Here, she says, I quote it from her. It says, "Show me where there has been liberty and justice for all." And the Sandra Bland, and she was doing it, Sandy Speaks. And I've incorporated the African symbol of the Guinea, which means fear no one but God. But this incorporates my political and social commentary, as well as the idea of, well, it's a stretch, but it's the idea of community, because I'm trying to, it's actually point number 5 of the Black Panther Party. It's really dealing with education, but also, communicating to the community in a different way. So I'm coming to the end finally, and it says, what brings me the most satisfaction? Painting without pressure of time, place, or money brings me the most satisfaction. And presently I'm getting satisfaction out of expressing and communicating my social, political, and community understanding, and working on telling the story, and watching it unfold. Realizing that I've been and still am on a journey of self-discovery and self-expression through my art. And that one day I will come into my own on one of these days or in another lifetime. And that's it. And I thank you for your time, your presence, and your listening ear. And I'm stopping sharing.
Thank you, Gayle.
Thank you.
That was lovely. Quite a story. We have time now for any questions or comments, and please feel free to do so. Anna.
I always have questions. Gayle, where are you? That was very moving. Thank you. I love your work. Your portraiture, the Gil Scott Heron drawing, is absolutely mesmerizing. And the one prior to that you showed, that was, I think you talked about it being a healing period for you, and that some people interpreted the image as being angry, but to me there was a lot of sadness that came through in the image. And I would love to, if not now, sometime, the poem that you referenced that has to do with that image. I don't know how, maybe this isn't the moment because you said it was long, but anyway, I'm very curious and desirous of hearing that
to do
poem.
it now, I'd have to pull it up and have to find it and pull it up. But I would I would love to share it. Yeah.
All right, we can follow up on that. I know how to find you. I think. A question I have was, it sounded like that time earlier on, I was wondering about the art scene for Black artists of California. You talked about the time when BAM was going on, and it just sounded very fertile. And I think you said his name was Leroy. Someone came out, and I was wondering if you could compare the art scene then to now, and how, or maybe it's incomparable. I don't know.
Yeah, I have, unfortunately, I'm 3/4 of a century old, and I am
But so
really,
wise.
I'm sort of out of the art scene. I right now I've just been practicing me and getting to know some of the young people, and I don't know if there's this big organized pushed effort, and I can't honestly say. I don't feel it right now, but then when I was younger, I was into everything. I was just into everything,
Yeah.
and there was a whole bunch going on at that time. And being young and energetic, I jumped into
Yeah.
everything. So
There might have been more going on in a way. Who
you know,
knows? Yeah.
I honestly, I know a lot of young artists, and they're doing amazing work. And I'm gonna tell you, a lot of grown-ups, a lot of people my age, they don't like graffiti, and I love graffiti. And they're doing a lot of mural work. And if you ever go into Oakland, especially downtown Oakland, I mean, almost every street you go into, there's murals and there's graffiti. And I've learned that even your signature is an art, is an artist move. So graffiti are some people's signatures, some young people's signatures. So it may not be organized the same way that it was back when I was coming along, but as I learn and grow and try to become more involved in the art movements that are going on today, I will gladly let everybody know.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
think that our time is up now for comments or questions to Gayle. And we're going to start now with our second artist, and that is Bryan McGilloway. Sorry.
Gayle, you've lived during very interesting times, and I really like seeing the progression of your work. It was really wonderful. Thanks. Yeah. All right, how do I do this? Share screen? Where'd you go?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. Where is it at? 7. Okay. So it says I am sharing the screen. Is that true?
Looks like it to me.
And you can start your slideshow.
Okay, we'll do that with hold on. Slideshow. Presenter view. Okay, that's all good. And I might have to switch screens here like we did last time, right?
Yeah, you're splitting
Okay.
side by side.
How's that?
Very okay. One screen.
That's good.
That's it.
All right. So I don't have nearly as much to say. I'm going to just show you some pictures, but I wanted to thank Irene for moderating this art talk. I think it's been fantastic, and I've been really welcomed by this community. It's been really great to meet so many of you people. And like I said earlier, hopefully I'll have some more time to meet you in person at some of these gatherings. My interest in documentary photography and foreign travel probably came from getting those National Geographics when I was a kid. I used to pore over them. I used to follow all the different photographers. And I was quite fortunate later in life to be able to get to meet some of my heroes. So it's been really exciting. As I said, I've been doing this type of photography for about 30 years. It was a hobby at first, like all of us start. I was in my 20s shooting on the streets of New York. Pretty much taught myself photography at that point, but I got some encouragement to go get a formal training. So I went to the Brooks Institute in Santa Barbara, where we were taught commercial photography, 4x5 cameras, studio lighting, all that stuff. They were gearing us to go out and make a lot of money as commercial photographers, but I chose another path. So, but I'm happy about it. Anyway, so for my final project at Brooks, to earn my BA, I we put together a trip, 18 of us, and we all went to China, and we split up and went to all different parts of the country. And when I got back, I put together a show, and it won a national award, and that's kind of what got me going. So let's begin. So the work was based on in a very, very remote and isolated part of China. This is along the Burmese border. And this is the early 90s, 1993. There was no internet. There was certainly no internet. There was no satellite dishes. And where I was, there was no electricity. So these people were completely cut off, not only from the West, but from the villages next to them. Most of them had not traveled beyond their village. So in this case, in this particular slide, this is a Bulong woman, and I came crashing out of the woods, running out in front of her. And I honestly think she had no idea what I was doing. I don't think she'd ever seen a camera before. And her look, her expression never changed. And not only that, I learned later, I don't think she'd ever seen a white person before. We're Laowai is what we're called in China, and it literally means white devil, but it's not that severe. But this may have been the first time she's seen one, being me. So what I did was I would take my iron bicycle and I'd ride up into the mountains, and I'd find out when the New Year celebrations were, the lunar New Year celebrations. And I had a backpack, a bedroll, a bowl for rice, a tin teacup, camera gear, and maybe a change of clothes. I would stay out 3, 4, 5 days at a time before I went back to my tiny little hotel room where there was electricity in a place called Jinghong. So when I came back 30 pounds lighter, I put together this audiovisual show, and I entered it in the Sundance of audiovisual shows at the time. And all I wanted to do was be accepted to the show, and I was. It was staged in LA that year. They put it on an IMAX screen, and this is back in the analog days. So you've got 16 slide projectors, all clunking slides down, focused on different parts of the screen. It was just, and it's all set to music. So it was really amazing. And at the end of the night, they had the big awards, and the award for photography always used to go to National Geographic. And so they were nominated for 2 of their shows. Time Life was nominated. A lot of the big heavyweights were nominated. And I was nominated, which got a nice little round of applause. But then I won, which, so to have the guys from National Geographic come over to my table and say, "You made us look really bad, and you're welcome to come to Washington anytime." But which is a whole different story. This woman was just recently widowed. She saw me with my cameras, grabbed a hold of me, said, "Come back here at 6 in the morning." And we spent the whole day together. And it was an amazing day burying her husband. I sent a packet of these photographs back to China for her, but I don't no idea if she ever received them. So one of the minorities that I photographed is the Dai minority, DAI, and these are the first 2 covers that I got from this shoot. The first cover of the girl's face was ran at the Brooks Institute magazine, and the other one was a woman who just fell into perfect placement, and that ran in Travel and Leisure. The Dai people are known to be the most beautiful women in China, renowned to be the most beautiful women in China. And you can see they're very long limbed and long featured, and this is their water splash festival. So I'll talk a little bit about backgrounds with your photography, and to me, backgrounds are incredibly important as we photograph people. This photograph, again, very attracted to the background, but it ran as in a gallery in Santa Barbara. And I came into the gallery, and the curator had a group around him, and he was talking about the photo. And he was explaining to the group what the photographer was thinking at the time. So it was really interesting to hear what I was thinking at the time. And it was something about Monet and monochromatic backgrounds and all that. And I thought, well, yeah, okay, I guess so. Now, these people, these guys, they're in every country. They're travel, what do I call them? Tourist models is what they are. And they take their wares, they get dressed up. In this case, they take their Cobras and they go out and they hope that tourists take their picture and give them a few bucks, it's fine. I have no problem with that. Whatever earns you a living. Unfortunately, here, the Cobra on the right and the guy's right hand actually struck the front of my lens, hit the lens hood, and then they're both yelling at each other. You know, hey, he hasn't paid us yet. What's wrong with you? Come on. So these people exist in almost every culture. And what I would suggest, if you really want to take one of these pictures, rather than just take a shot, here's a buck, go find a spot nearby that has a nice background or some nice light, and fiddle with your camera to get it all set. And then go back and get the person, show them a few bucks and say, okay, I'm going to hire you for the next 5 minutes, but you have to come with me. And then take them to where you want to make the photo, take control of the situation. And hopefully you get away from all the other people that are trying to click too, because then the person has no idea where to look. While you're doing this, I would say engage. Talk about their family. How many brothers and sisters do you have? How long have you lived here? They're just as interested in you, and they'll probably start asking you questions. And what you do get at this point is a real smile or a real reaction. And not only that, when you get home, you have a photograph that you're actually interested in, not just here's a buck, click, which is what you get in these kind of situations. And it's permeated through a lot of cultures right now, and I wish it would just stop. So I don't like the here's a buck, click reaction. This sadhu was in Durbar Square in Kathmandu, and I saw him from quite a ways off, and I liked that he was providing scale for this giant stupa. But I approached, and I realized he was putting on his makeup for the day. And I broke open my thermos. We had some tea, and I said, "You want to make some pictures?" "Oh yeah, sure." And I am terrible at posing people. Well, and these are his ideas. This is better. If I took control, it would be worse. But I much prefer photographing people when they're unaware of me and they just happen to fall into place. I did have the suggestion of taking off his gold wristwatch in this scene, which he agreed. We both had a laugh about that. So this is in Antigua in Guatemala. I saw this man coming toward me, and I thought, well, I really want to photograph this guy. I got a grab shot, which didn't really work. And then I said, would you mind coming over to this wall over here and walk back and forth? And I knew that thing was heavy. I didn't want to take up too much of his time. But I didn't get the shot. I just knew I didn't get the shot. But when I went over to say thank you and goodbye, he turned to walk away, and then I saw the photograph. So I did get a frame that I liked. I quite often, I wouldn't say use, I employ little people in my photographs, and quite often these are landscapes or architectural photographs, but it definitely gives it a focal point. And I would stand or sit for a long time waiting for something to happen. In this case, this man came over and started sketching, and he just completed the picture for me. This is in France. Same thing here. I sat on the roof in Iran, waited for someone to show up. Didn't really get what I wanted, but finally this woman turned the corner, and I managed to just grab a frame before she went on down the steps. Here in Lake Como, I thought someone was going to come out onto that terrace. They never did, but this woman up in the upper left poked her head out the window, and I thought, good enough. We'll go with that. Morning is a great time to be out shooting because there's not that many people on the streets yet. So first light, my favorite time to go out and shoot. This is Jordan. This is the desert at Wadi Rum. And I'm with some camel kids, the kids that mind the camels, and they don't get much rain there, let alone rainbows. And so I think some of the kids were 8 or 9 years old. They had never seen a rainbow before, and they were just going mad. And I shot about, I don't know, 8 rolls of film in about 20 minutes. And the camels and here, let me do this, just in case you can't see. There we go. So the camels here and the riders present a nice, what is it called? Viewpoint for us to see how big those cliffs really are. Get that back. So again, I wait it out. I do this quite a bit. These are just grab shots, just camera at the ready. I heard the car go by, turned and fired. I saw the bike out of the corner of my eye and decided, yep, I can make a shot here. But that's just about being at the ready. Talk about a great background. Love the background. Didn't think I really had a shot until that little monk jumped, though. And simpler to me, the better. Again, first light. This is Inle Lake in Burma. I've tried to paint this. Gayle was talking about watercolors and how much respect she has. My God, it's really difficult. I tried to paint this as a watercolor. I failed many times. I'm going to stick to photography. So your backgrounds are important for the tight shots too. If you can find something that's at least complementary or at least not too interruptive. Now, here, the man on the left in Egypt, there was a situation where I took him and put him in a spot where I wanted him. The one on the right is me finding a wall that I really, really liked at Che Guevara in Havana, and just waiting and waiting for the right car to come by with the right guy in it. Sometimes your first instinct is not the best, or your first idea is not the best. As you can see on the left, I'm trying to do way too much with this portrait. And luckily, I had my wits about me. And what I saw were the flowers in the background. I thought, well, what I need to do is not move him. I need to back up 15, 20 feet, put the flowers behind him, use a long lens, throw the background out of focus, and a much better idea. This is something I do quite a bit. It's what I call echoing the foreground. I'll take a subject, and then I'll try to find or place something in the background that relates. And quite often it's another person. The more elements you try to put into a picture, the more difficult it is to balance it, really. So this is all about hats, I guess. And they're tough to pull off. But every now and then you can get lucky. This is including as many people as you can in a photograph, and this becomes more about pattern and color and texture. Same here. I'm a good ways away. I'm about 300 millimeter lens, and this is a dance troupe, and they kept going through the same part of the rehearsal, which is great because I could see where they were going to end up each time. And so I shot and shot and shot until I finally got a frame that I really liked. And people, when they're left alone, they just tend to fall into the right place, which is good because I can't pose them. Again, this is about gesture and light and form all coming together at the same time. And when this happens, it just sort of makes my day. This boy on the left, this young man here, he, I thought somebody was going to come by and walk on the sidewalk over there, and that was going to complete the frame. But I waited. No one really came through that I really liked. And he came over, sat down wearing the perfect shirt, and then turned his head to mimic the wrought iron structure. And I just, it was click, and yeah, I'm a happy guy at that point. This on the right is, I just thought it was a really sweet moment, like Titicaca. And we're back to hats again. These are not tourist models on the left. These are Hungarian horsemen. They're real cowboys, and it's a working farm. So I again waited for quite some time for the heads to separate and for them to all do the right thing. The man on the right is in Bali, and I just really loved the light on him and his subtle gesture. This is Palm Sunday in Ecuador. I don't know. The guy on the right here looks like he's about to give himself a headache. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. And the one on the left, I backed up through elephant dung for a whole afternoon trying to get that shot. This is breaking the rules of photography. You're not really supposed to put something big down the center of the frame like this, but I thought it illustrated the difference between, or the division of labor and non-labor in this situation. These photographs are hard to make successful. These are crowd shots. I mean, this is the Ganges, this is Varanasi at the funeral ghats. And the subject matter is interesting, but photographically, there's really no focal point. And for me, sometimes the simpler, the better. Again, very simple background. When the man picked up the blanket, made this gesture, I finally was able to make a shot. This is Tibet. I was in a dark room with slow speed film, and I had no shot at all. I saw a monk coming to the left here, opening the door. And at the time, I was very used to what my film and exposures and all that. And so I dialed in an exposure that I thought was going to work. And as soon as he opened the door, the light streamed in. I got off one frame, maybe two, and he slammed the door, and I was back in the dark. But very happy when these things work out. Flat light is really great for color. This woman on the left, again, a woman in Guatemala. I love the wall. She's fantastic. But hard light tends to create too many shadows. Soft light really brings out the color in a photograph. The woman on the right, what attracted me at first was the window light pouring through. It just wrapped her really beautifully. And I came in, we talked, she let me make some pictures after I helped her peel some garlic. The photo on the right was a fountain in Aix-en-Provence, and it was completely black. The only lights showing were the ones up on top of this building. So I did some geeky photo calculations with my flashes. I put the camera on a tripod. I had a flash in each hand, and I ran around lighting up the square. I had about 45 seconds to complete all this. And my last flash was, I was right behind this post, kneeling down, and I put a blue gel over the flash to make the water pop. Anyway, this woman saw me doing all this crazy stuff, and I said, "Do you want to make a portrait?" And she said, "Yeah." So again, I ran around the square in about 45 seconds, lighting up the square, and then the final frame, the final flash was on her. And then we went and listened to jazz music and drank Bordeaux. So I included this because of the type of lens that I'm using. I'm using a macro lens, which is usually reserved for flowers and real close-up shots of insects and things like that. But I use it as a portrait lens sometimes because the depth of field, the amount that's in focus is very, very shallow, usually about an inch. And so you could see the sadhu's eyes are tack sharp and the plane of focus runs up and down here into his beard. But once you get to his ear, it's gone. It's way out of focus. And this creates a really nice three-dimensional feel to the picture. I also take him and put him inside a doorway, so I get the light falling off very, very softly. And it's just a great place to shoot. This woman, same sort of lens, very shallow depth of field. I put her in the type of light where I thought that little nose ring would sort of light up for her, and made sure that these flowers were in the background. Sorry, my mouse has gone buggy. Hold on. There we go. So I use motion a lot. I think one of the things that the camera can do that our eyes can't is things like this. Our eye can't pick this up, but the camera can. And I think it's part of the magic of photography. I had about a 1 second exposure here where I thought the line was going to move forward first, and maybe we'll catch these guys on the end kind of frozen. Again, this is just panning along, slow exposure, tiny little flash at the end. Here, the havoc that I wanted to capture definitely needed some movement to it. Again, a tiny little flash that goes off, and this is all about, again, pattern and color. Photograph on the left I made very recently. This is the Point Richmond Music Fair last week before that. And for me, photographing stage performances, particularly music like this, I always think a sense of motion defines the moment. It just makes it feel like what's going on stage. And these other photos here were probably taken in the early 80s. So when I first started shooting color film, but it just reminded me that I've been into this motion thing for quite some time. So if I can go out and you know, I'm always taking things as a photographer, taking photos, and if I can go out and have a laugh, make somebody's day, give them a story to go back home with, and have a laugh at the dinner table, then I feel like I'm giving back at least a little bit. And moments like this just thrill me. They just make my day. So I will leave you with some smiles, and that will be the last frame. Okay, now what do I do?
Unshare screen.
Stop share?
Yeah, stop share.
That looks right.
There you are.
Okay.
Yes, you can unmute yourselves, people.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. All right. That was quite a journey.
Yeah.
Please go ahead with questions or comments, Gayle.
All right. So first of all, I thought the colorfulness of this photography is just really beautiful, so sharp, and even the blurred ones are sharp. But one question I'd like to know is, I'm sure you covered a large period of time. What have you learned in your travels and these wonderful pictures? What have you learned about yourself?
What I really learned, Gail, I've learned that I go out into the world looking for the different and the exotic and all that. And one thing that happens in every single country is that I will come across a grandma, and she's got a child on her lap. And this happens everywhere. She will invariably not want to be photographed herself, but she will hold up the child. And then she will reach into her pocket and pull out a wet nap of some type and begin cleaning the child's face and fixing the hair and all that, and holding the child up to be photographed. And this happens from Africa to Antigua. I mean, everywhere. So the more I travel, the more I realize that, we're kind of the same. And that's been a real life lesson. I think that helps me immediately relate to people. Even though we don't speak the same language and they're dressed funny and I'm dressed funnier, it just breaks down this immediate barrier for me. And I love being able to, get a smile, play the fool, whatever it takes. So I guess that's really what I've learned, is that we're all alike in a lot of ways.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that makes you want to take one of those 39-hour journeys.
Mhm. Makes me want to take
I
some
want to take one of
photos.
your pictures and paint.
What's that?
I want to take one of your photos and paint them.
Oh, all right. Okay.
Mm.
Sounds good to me.
Anna.
So that fire hydrant photo was super cool. So were all the photos that. So I wanted to ask you, was that New York? The
Yeah.
one with the kid? Yeah, and that was just a
Central Park, a long
the
time
precise
ago.
moment these kids were doing this stuff with a bucket on their head. Just
Yeah.
you didn't ask them to do that. That's wild.
No.
I have a question just post-processing wise. That Ganges photo is actually really compelling, even though, like you say, there was so much going on,
Yeah.
right? Kind of Where's Waldo or something in that
Right,
photo. But are you ever tempted to go in post-processing and, with light and highlight certain aspects of it or certain people, or maybe you did that?
Yeah, I'm an editor as well, and I do quite a bit of that. In camera, you sort of want to construct where your viewer's eyes are going to go and get it right in camera. But sometimes you have to highlight this, knock that back, that sort of thing in post-production. These days, you can do just about anything.
Yeah. You could
Right.
make one focal point in that really complex photo if you wanted to, I guess, but that would take away too.
Yeah, like there was a woman in the lower frame that was all dressed in white. If I had moved her up to a PowerPoint in the photo, it may have attracted that sort of attention. But in my mind, well, if you didn't get it, you didn't get it. So keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that's very Ansel Adams to sit there for a long time and wait for in your case, the right person to come by, probably in his case, the light to change or something, maybe both.
Yeah. And as I said, I do this quite a bit. I'll find a scene and I will just love the scene and go, okay, I'm going to sit it out here for a while until something good happens. Yeah.
So in France, a guy just happens to decide he needs to sketch that mill pond or whatever.
I saw him coming across the bridge and I was like, stop. He was all dressed in
Please
white.
do it. Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes you think you can control these things with your mind. You figure if I was good, I got out of bed before dawn, and please, photo gods, let this happen for me. Yeah. Sometimes it works. And quite often I have no idea where I'm going. I'll get out of bed when it's dark and I'll go out, and you sort of have to have your antennas out. And I was in Oaxaca and I didn't know where to go. I went and sat down in the square and I thought, which direction do I walk? I don't even know. And this little bird came over and landed right next to me. And I just asked it, I said, so which way? And he flew off in a direction. And I thought, that's the way to go. And that's, I actually made some really nice shots that morning. So the bird was right. Just I had to listen to it.
Well done.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I think that we really understand that photography means being very patient And also being able to get up really early and stay up really late. That's why I'm not a great photographer.
Yeah, yeah. I have a friend who wants to be a landscape photographer. And I said, but then the pictures she shows me are all in the middle of the day, and landscapes don't look very good in the middle of the day, you know. And so I keep showing her landscape photographs of early morning and late in the day when the scene looks great. And she's like, "Oh, but I don't want to get up that early, and then I'll miss dinner. I don't want to stay out that late." And I thought, maybe you should be a different kind of photographer instead. So yeah. Anyway,
Any other questions or comments?
I don't know. Where are you going next?
I'm going to someplace not as exciting, Florida, and then I'm going to New York. I have to go see some family. So
Yeah, there's
yeah,
photos to be taken. And this is a good time of year. You don't have to get up early or stay up late. The days are starting to get shorter.
yeah,
So your landscape.
yeah. Well, on my New York trip, I am going to go. There's a wedding. My nephew's getting married, but then I'm going to go out to Connecticut. My friend has a horse farm out there, and it's
Ooh.
going to be prime leaf peeping season, like right at the end of October,
Ooh,
right? And this is
nice.
where they have the covered bridges and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So I think I'll make some photos then. Yeah,
Yay,
yeah.
fun.
Anyway,
Well, let's give both Gayle and Bryan a big hand. Fantastic, fantastic. Thank
thank
you
you.
both. Your journeys have been just incredible. And
Mhm.
our lives, as you can see, are so different, all of us. And what we find in the world that is beautiful or interesting is very personal.
Mm.
Irene, you need to do an artist talk one day. I know it's hard because
Yeah.
you're the moderator and the organizer, but I'd love to see you up there one of these days.
Well, I just want to announce that the next artist talk will be in November, Saturday, November the 11th. And we have two interesting guests. One is Paige Teschner, who's a sculptor and a longtime Burning Man participant. And then there's Lily McKenzie, a published writer, and she's just published a book called Dreaming Myself into Old Age, One Search for Meaning. So those are the next ones, and you'll be hearing about them. Well, thank you all for being here with us today, and I will say that's it. Have a wonderful evening, and thanks again, Bryan and Gayle.
Thank
And
you,
thank
Irene,
You,
for putting this
Irene,
up.
and
Thank
thank you,
you.
everybody, for the
Beautiful.
Artist Appointment and everyone that attended.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you.